Welcome back, ladies and gents. We're here to talk about the greatest Formula One driver of all time, the greatest driver in the sport at the moment. Ted Kravitz says Lewis Hamilton had to suspend activities before Japanese Grand Prix after call from Ferrari. What activities did he have to suspend? I'm curious. I want to know. Lewis Hamilton's start to a life at Ferrari has been far from ideal. The Scuderia have been struggling for race pace so far in 2025. They have been struggling for race pace, but it's one positive we can say, especially after the Japanese Grand Prix. In quali pace, they were a lot closer to the guys at the front compare to Australia. You remember Australia, they were like 5 or 6 tenths off. It was something crazy. Even in China, they were far off in the real race, not the sprint. In the real race, real qualifying, they were off. And it's very strange, I must say, for two races in a row, we don't really see this. We've never really seen this kind of performance from Lewis Hamilton before, where in both races, back to back, he lacks race pace. Race pace is like air to Lewis Hamilton. It's like nature. It comes, it just flows. Race pace is what he's built off, is what he's made of. Max Verstappen is actually 1 point behind Lando Norris. Holy shit. You know, I've said this and I'll say it again. If McLaren drivers can't get their shit together, because apparently they're the two best drivers on the grid, they got two solid drivers. Holy shit. Max Verstappen is going to win this championship again. He's going to beat the shit out of Lando Norris. He's going to win again. And Lando seems determined to give Max Verstappen this championship. Just hand it to him on a silver platter. That's Lando Norris. He seems determined to just give this championship away. But what is crazy is that obviously there was a sprint race, so they got some points for a sprint race. I can't remember how much. But Lando in the main races has finished first, second, and second. And yet, Max Verstappen is only 1 point behind. Holy shit. This is what I mean. Even with the fastest car, Lando can't get the job done. But Oscar is the hope. Oscar is hope. That's the driver's standing tells you who has the fastest car. That's the thing that everyone wants to ignore in today's Formula One world. The driver standing will tell you who has the fastest car. The constructors, let's look. It's McLaren, it's Mercedes, it's Red Bull. Arguably, Red Bull's second driver is underperforming. Well, it's not performing at all. This is all being done by Max. So that inadvertently put that Red Bull in second place. It's the second fastest car. And even if it was the third fastest car, it's still not a fucking tractor. It is still not the slowest car in the grid. It's not the Alpine, it's not the Kick, it's not the RB, it's not the Aston Martin, it's not a fucking Haas, it's not even a Williams. But this is who has the fastest car in Formula One right now. Ferrari, we know well and true they are in fourth. They have the fourth slowest, they have the fourth fastest car. Red Bull is somewhere around second or third. I believe they're second, a little bit above Mercedes. But is anyone as fast as the McLaren? No, they're not. So realistically, Max Verstappen should not be close to Lando Norris. I give Lando credit because most of this is Max Verstappen consistently being in second, stuff like that, great performances. And the only higher position above that is first. But Lando still has the fastest car. Can he sustain this? I don't know if he can. I don't know if he can, because the way this is looking, he seems determined to just hand this championship to Max Verstappen. But I still want to find out about this Lewis Hamilton thing. What happened with him in Ferrari? So at the Chinese GP, the SF25 found performance, which guided Lewis to a sprint win on Saturday. However, Ferrari suddenly lost the speed in race as the Brit and Charles Leclerc came home P5, P6. Like I said, they've got the fourth fastest car. If McLaren is saying they don't have the fastest car, who does, McLaren? Answer me that question. It is well established they have the fastest car. They also got a decent driver pairing. But is it the best driver pairing on the grid? No. It is the second best driver pairing on the grid with the fastest car. So they'll win the Constructors' Championship, no problem. But that Red Bull will continue to improve little by little. And it will just continue to give Max Verstappen a great opportunity to steal that world title again, just like they did in 2021, really. Now, this article continued to obviously state that Lewis was disqualified along with Charles Leclerc for being underweight and Lewis for excessive plank rear. This proves to be another gut punch, leaving the latter just 9 points from his first 2 races at Ferrari. Yeah, it's not been a good start. But honestly, can you really be so surprised? Ferrari built a new car. No one else on the grid decided to build a new car. Ferrari decided to build a new car. They were not this slow last year. They decided to build a new car, and we all know when you decide to build a new car, you might struggle at the start and you need to learn to adapt and to develop the car. So I wouldn't be surprised if this Ferrari car is as slow as it is, because it will take them time they don't have because they have to focus on next year. But it would take them time to develop that car further, a lot more time than they have available. Now, I truly believe that the Mercedes is ahead of the Ferrari right now, and they will continue to be ahead of the Ferrari till the end of the season. I predict that Mercedes could end up being just as good as the McLaren. Remember now, they've just taken everything from last year's car and improved it massively for this year in 2025 on that Mercedes. I think that car is a great opportunity to continue to evolve and to catch the McLaren. And in this race, Japanese GP, both drivers were performing. Kimi was doing terrific. Kimi was flying, especially towards the end of the race. They have the chance to catch McLaren. Do Ferrari have a chance to catch McLaren? They have the car, but they need more time to develop that car. Everyone's ahead of them right now, a tenth or two ahead of them right now. And that's reasonably. Could be more, could be 3 to 4 tenths ahead, depending on the track. That sometimes take a couple of years to improve upon. So no, it's really not looking good. And it begs the question, if they don't do well this year, and so what happens with this car? Was it just a waste of time? Just goes down to trash, goes in the bin? What happens to it? Is there anything on this car that will help them with next year's car? I have no idea. I'm no expert in this. Some people will say no to that answer, some people will say yes. But truly, we don't really know where these teams are going to be next year. I predict Mercedes will be leading the charge. They will lead the charge in 26 and in 27. That's my prediction for Mercedes. Mercedes will return to full dominance. That's my prediction. Now, if that Ferrari can't get anywhere close to that Mercedes, then can we see Lewis even competing for that title? No, we can't see that. And if that's the way it's going to be for the next 2, 3, 4 years, then Lewis don't have a chance to win that title. So is it really like end of a chapter for Lewis? Retirement, without winning that extra title with Ferrari? It's possible. It's possible. I hope I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong. But I'm just looking at it mathematically, from a mathematical perspective. This year's car seems like it's a wasted potential car. It's a great car, but they don't seem to be able to extract it properly. If they make the same mistake next year, what hope do we have that they can improve that 2026 car for 27, 28 and onwards? There is no hope. And we don't have time. We got a finite amount of time. Which is why every little win we have to enjoy while Lewis is still in the sport, still getting pole positions and wins. We got to enjoy every little moment. Because Mercedes can win a championship by being consistent the entire year. Ferrari usually have a point where they underperform throughout the season, and that's a trend that we've seen forever. So Ferrari engineers tried to lift Hamilton's spirit in the garage at Suzuka by giving him a teddy of his pet dog Roscoe. This came before the team had called him an emergency meeting in Manila to get their problem figured out. Ted Kravitz on Sky Sport F1 before FP1 admitted that they got it wrong with Hamilton's plank wheat disqualification in China, but only by a tiny amount. The Leclerc underweight disqualification was quite a simple thing. Ferrari says there is quite a few things that could contribute, but that they know that what it was. But clearly Lewis' plank rear, and it's only by a half a millimeter, was just outside the tolerance. Of course, Lewis wants the most downforce from his Ferrari. You get the most downforce by running the car as low as possible to the ground. But if the car cannot be run closely to the ground, you can see where we're going with this. Problem arises. Ferrari did call a meeting, called Lewis back from his activities in the Far East, in China and Japan, back to Maranello just for a day on Tuesday to get it all figured out. And then Lewis came out here to Japan to acclimatize to the time difference. Okay, so they called him based on business, but the way they write these articles, yeah, it makes it sounds way worse than it actually is. F1 2025 World Championship could be decided on qualifying sessions, where a driver has started on the grid, has played a key role in their prospective race performance as Japanese GP follow from China in terms of overtaking difficulties. Ferrari team principal Fred Vasseur believes the current Formula One season is a danger of becoming a qualifying world championship. With overtaking at a premium in the past 2 rounds, while the 2025 campaign began with a frantic Australian Grand Prix, the changeable weather played a key part in ensuring plenty of on-track action. That's another thing as well. You got to remember, the reason why, the real reason why Ferrari underperformed in Australia is because they fucked up the pit stop. That wasn't a car problem. The qualifying was a car problem. But then they were in great position to capitalize and to pit for intermediary tires. They didn't. How frustrating. And then leading up to China double disqualification. This is the first race we've had this year where so far they finished the race and there hasn't been any major controversy. The only one is there wasn't any overtake, but that was true for all teams. Wherever you started, that's where you finish. The top cars, the top teams could not overtake. And these rules, they were supposed to help with overtaking, but we've seen that was a lot of bullshit. So it has been a different story. Though in both the Chinese Grand Prix and this week's Japanese Grand Prix, where very little overtaking took place, in what the final year of the current regulation, there has only been convergence in car design, but simultaneously teams have found ways around the rules that were originally introduced to promote more overtaking. Across 2024, there were 70 fewer overtakes than a year earlier, despite there being 2 extra races. And so far in 2025, all 3 drivers who qualified on pole positions have gone on to win with respective Grand Prix. Even the fucking sprint race in China, Lewis got on pole, Lewis won. So it's becoming a little bit more obvious that unfortunately, whoever gets pole, that's who's going to win the race, depending on the track. I can see some overtaking happening in Bahrain. Thank God for Bahrain. Saudi Arabia, I'm not sure. I'm not getting too excited about Saudi Arabia, to be honest. Good track for racing, very dangerous, but will it be good for overtaking? No idea. Especially when Max Verstappen loves to run people off that first corner. He loves it. And then he runs off and go wide. Doesn't get a penalty. He could do it 100 times. Doesn't get a penalty. Now, Fred Vasseur went on to say, for sure, qualifying is always crucial in performance, said Ferrari team principal. The smaller the gap between cars, the more true that it is because you are in a group of cars. It is not that you're just one fighting with one guy in front of you. Yes, it would probably be a qualifying championship. I would have to agree with Fred Vasseur. It is slowly becoming that. And I don't see any changes on the horizon. Although there hasn't been much talk about the flexi wing, there hasn't been much talk about that, and there is some changes coming to that for the Spanish GP. But do I have any hope? Nope, I do not. So the pair both pointed to Verstappen's stunning pole lap as a deciding a race in which they could not find a way past the Dutchman for 53 laps. Well, how could they? That final corner, a slow corner, by the time Max Verstappen goes on the power, the McLaren is still coming out the braking zone. So how are you going to make up that deficit? It's just not ideal for overtaking. It's a similar thing with the Abu Dhabi Marina circuit. The overtaking zones are just they're not that ideal, and it's very interesting how some tracks overtaking is just not possible. Like not just street circuits, but also Albert Park, Australia, just not very good for overtaking. But does it look like a fantastic and fun track to drive and to race? Absolutely, it looks fantastic. But for overtaking, it is shite. So, we tend to see a lot of overtaking in Bahrain, and that's the next race, and that's what I'm excited for. And hopefully Lewis will have some pace. Hopefully he will regain his confidence and figure out the issues that he's having with his Ferrari, and he will be able to unlock some race pace. Because we still haven't seen a race yet where Lewis has shown his true race pace, except for the sprint race. And it was unfortunate that that race wasn't the real race. It was unfortunate that it was only around 20 laps instead of like 50 or 55. That was unfortunate. But yeah, the current championship has a serious chance of becoming just a qualifying championship. So not even a real championship, not even a real thing, just a qualifying championship. It's very interesting. But let me know. Is it possible that Lewis stands a chance at progressing with this Ferrari, or will they continue to be the fourth slowest team for the rest of the season? Can they even, you know, move past, Mercedes and stay ahead? I don't know. I don't know. I think Mercedes have a little bit more performance to gain than Ferrari can gain from their car. Not because the car doesn't have the potential. That car has a lot of potential, but can they get the performance that's needed? I don't think so. The good news is that the issues that Ferraris are experiencing, they're becoming more and more apparent. So when you can understand, when you can see the problem, identify it, understand it, improve upon it, that's good. Problems that are very difficult to fix or problems that are well hidden, hard to understand, yeah, those problems are really difficult to figure out. But thankfully, they're starting to understand what some of these problems are, and hopefully they can figure it out. But while they're fixing their problems, other teams are bringing solutions. Not just solutions, but other teams are bringing upgrades to go faster. Ferrari is bringing solutions to regain what they think the car has lost. That's where I'll end this video. So thank you for watching, subscribe, and we'll see you in our next video, okay? Peace.